going on, guys? This is Bruce Matson, your host of the show, Metric Scout Fantasy Football, the show that talks about all things fantasy, redraft, Dynasty, DFS, Devy, Campus Can, you name it, I talk about it. Hit that subscribe button if that's something you're interested into. Ring the bell, tell your homies, let everyone know. But today, this video, we're going to be talking about a rookie draft strategy that I think many people need to think about. Not necessarily implement, but need to think about, especially if they got the first couple picks in the draft. They're drafting at the top, and this is more for like 1 QB leagues. 2 QB leagues, you pretty much you should go Trevor Lawrence unless you get a Godfather offer. But 1 QB leagues, I feel like you need to explore trading out for one of the top players from last year's draft, if that's something you're interested in. If you're not in love with Kyle Pitts, if you feel like you're good at receiver, or you're scared about Jamar Chase because he didn't play last year, and you're kind of worried about that, or you're not a big fan of the running back, say you don't like Najee Harris that much, or Travis Etienne, you're just not a big fan of them, you're not over the moon as some people are, and you do not want to select them at 102, you don't want to select them at 103, no matter where they go. Or like you like them, but it's not like you love them, and it's not like you have to have them, and you want to explore all options. One option I got for you is looking at last year's class and using that 102, 101, 103, 104, whatever pick you got, and even it could be 105, 106. The worst thing that happens is the managers in your league tells you no. Make them tell you no. You want to explore all options. Make them tell you no on your trade-off. When you're on the clock, that's when your pick's most valuable. But sometimes during the off-season, that managers' values on their players may be up and down. So it's whenever's best for you, whenever's best for that other manager as well. You may want to explore looking at one of the running backs from last year's class. And I'm talking Jonathan Taylor, who is a hefty premium, which means you're going to use that pick and you're going to have to add to it. It's going to be between you and that manager. So it could be this year's first, next year's first, this year's first, second, and some prospect. I can't tell you what it is, because you may get into negotiations and you'll be like, I can't do this. This guy wants too much. Or this is easy and this guy wants too little and he's underselling me because he really thinks Najee Harris is really good and he thinks a second on top of that is just a cherry on top. You never know. You never know until you start doing it. So I don't want to give you all kinds of trade scenarios and then you feel like you're locked into those scenarios when really you should be fluid, because you never know what you're going to get when you approach that manager. DeAndre Swift could be a good value depending on what his manager is expecting out of him. And a lot of these guys that you're going to be dealing with, girls too, I guess, they're going to be holding tight on their rookies from last year because obviously they drafted them for a reason, but not everyone. They may be scared of Swift. They got Dan Campbell coming in. He's talking about biting kneecaps. Jared Goff's the quarterback. Does not look very enticing. Who knows what that offense is going to look like? They could be 3 and out every drive for all we know, and DeAndre Swift just suffers. But he could be a discount. Just because ADP has him at 7 doesn't mean his manager is going to value him at that. And you may be able to get a little discount with him. You may be able to use your 104, 103, 102, 101, or whatever to get him. Same thing, Cam Akers. Cam Akers is definitely on the rise. Has a ADP of 11.17. You're going to have to package up. Same with J.K. Dobbins. He's fallen the early second round. And then another running back that everyone loved, who's been slipping, is Clyde Edwards-Helaire. And he's still in the same situation. He's still the same dude. And now he's at a better price tag. There could be an owner or a manager in your league that is ready to move on. Or they value Kyle Pitts extremely. They value Jamar Chase. Or Najee Harris goes to the Steelers. And you're a wishy-washy on Najee Harris, but you wanted Clyde Edwards-Helaire last year. You can make that move. And you may be able to do it 1-for-1. You may be able to just get it done by adding a little bit to it. You may have to add more than you want. It's all according to price and what you feel and feel what's best for your team. But the main thing here is you want to explore kicking the tires and see if you can package that pick for a player of value that you know that will be productive, or an asset you've been wanting to acquire in the last few years with this pick, if you're not in love with any of these top guys. In the last video, when I was giving you the strategy for rookie drafts, I told you to trade back, get multiple picks. If you're feeling wishy-washy on these players, this is the second avenue to that. Trading out, picking up a veteran or a younger player that's ready to blossom. That player that you've been wanting on your team. Or you can get like a DJ Moore and something else. There's just a lot of options. It's really what you want. And go after what you want. And it doesn't matter. Like CeeDee Lamb, wide receiver 7 in ADP right now. See if you can get him for with the 102. I probably would hold on to CeeDee Lamb. But maybe it's the 102 and a player in a second. Maybe it's the 102, another first, and a second. You don't know, and you don't know what you want to pay. You don't know what's going to get the deal done. Going back a little bit, maybe you really like Antonio Gibson, and you want a little bit more on top of that. It really depends on what you want here. Stephon Diggs, get a good veteran here. Age 27, and you're not going to reset the clock or anything, but there's just options. That's what I'm telling you. There's options. There's other things you can do. So if you're not big on Jamar Chase, if you're not big on Kyle Pitts, if you're not big on Najee Harris, Travis Etienne, say it's the 104. And Pitts, Najee Harris, and Jamar Chase are off the board. You're looking at Travis Etienne. And he went to an all right spot. Let's just say he went to the Steelers. That seems like it's the prime spot for everybody. I think if he went to the Steelers, he's going to bump up to 103, 102. But in this scenario, this alternative timeline, he went 104. So if he goes 104, and you watched Etienne at the Pro Day, you watch tape from this year, and you're like, I'm not feeling it, then the one thing you do is use that 104 and get one of these veterans, cash it out. And the best time's always when you're on the clock, supposedly, but sometimes it might be right after the draft. It really depends on the fluidity of your league, the fluidity of what's going on in the other managers' minds or your friends or whoever you're playing with, and you just got to strike when the iron's hot, and you just got to keep an open mind. The best thing, too, is just to always be kicking the tires and looking for trades, looking to trade back, looking to trade out. We're not locked into this rookie class. That's the best thing about rookie draft. So it's very fluid. You can trade out, get a veteran. You can trade back, get more picks. You can trade out and get future picks. There's just a lot of things to do, and we really need to stay focused and be objective with our thoughts with our picks. That way we can maximize our opportunities, maximize our investment, especially if we have the 101, 102, and our team's bad. Maybe it's best to trade out, get veterans and picks to just build this team. Maybe it's best to trade back, get a late first this year, another first next year, maybe a all right prospect or a third rounder or something, just to increase more capital, just to build this team. Like, one player may not do it for you. Having your eggs on one player may not do it for you. You may need multiple. You may need a lot to build your team. You don't know. You really need to think outside the box with these drafts and not feel buoyed into one player, especially with the spectrum of wide receiver this year, where we have so many guys that are talented with good profiles that are going all the way up and down the board from the first round to like the early third round of rookie drafts right now, where you could really pick and choose of when you want to get a guy. And the same thing with running back. The running back's a weird value this year because it's not a strong class. We know this. It's not the strongest class we've had recently. So knowing that, and knowing that there's a big drop-off from top 3 to the rest, but knowing that some of these bottom-tier guys, if they get in the right situation and may get some looks, you may be able to sell them for more than what you paid for just because of recency bias of their situation. It's just a lot of different things you want to think about here. And the main thing, too, is when you're in the top 5, you have more options. Those picks are going to become more valuable as we get closer to the draft and possibly after the draft if these players go in good situations, especially if one of these bottom-tier running backs land in an amazing situation. Like, say, Trey Sermon goes to the Steelers, he's going to get a pump up. He may get an early second round. It may be higher because people get hungry for running backs, especially when they can get them cheap if they're a rookie draft. So that's a possibility. But you really need to be objective, be fluid, think about all possibilities, and when you're drafting at the top, that gives you good capital, be able to package up and get you a veteran. You can get a younger veteran that can help you out. Yeah, even at the running back position, or a good young wide receiver. You got plenty of them, and you feel confident about it. Maybe like a Terry McLaurin or something like that. Again, each deal is going to be different. It's not going to be just one for one. You're going to be adding, taking away from the picks. And I don't want to like give you ideas of what to do because I don't want to pigeonhole you into an exact situation. My thing is you always want to be kicking the tires, going to all the managers in your league, seeing what you can get for the pick, seeing if someone overvalues it so you can maximize your opportunities. And that's what we want to always do, maximize our opportunities whenever we're on the clock, whenever we're making deals. That way we get the full value out of our teams. We don't want to rip people off. We're not trying to rip people off, but at the end of the day, we want to try to get the most out of our Dynasty Fantasy Football teams. And sometimes we have to go unconventional routes. We don't always have to sit there and make our pick. We can always trade out, trade back, whatever. We can always ask for a little bit extra on the deal, maybe a 4th, 3rd rounder in our trades, 5th rounder, Jeff Janis, a scrub player that we think that could increase in value later on or something like that. Worlds are oysters. So so many possibilities. So you really want to think about all of them whenever you're making these transactions. I hope this helped you. Hope getting this out of my mind onto this camera gave you enough information to really work through some things to get you ready for them rookie drafts. Drop me a follow on Twitter at Metric Scout. Hit that subscribe button. Ring the bell. Tell your homies, and I'll get you next time.